Player contracts are heating up. Disc golf this weekend, and fans tell us why they like players. Let's get into it. All right, everyone, welcome into Understable Discourse, your go-to place for disc golf news, conversations, what may be. Here, having a good time. Sorry about the no episode yesterday, having to push it today. Like I said, we had some fun plumbing stuff going on here. Nothing like sitting around in your living room when you're washing clothes and all of a sudden you hear gushing water and you have to run to the basement to find out what's going on. But we're all set, we're all fixed, and we're back in business now. So yeah, we got a little bit of a kind of a recap episode for you of some of the things that have been happening recently. Make sure, to kind of expand on my thoughts, because one of the things with the hot round that I like doing every day is I like bringing the news, but I don't oftentimes get a chance to comment on some of those things because it's more meant to be like informing you of what's happening, not necessarily a breakdown of the commentary behind it. But I think there's a lot to go over. Some big moments happened this last week. I mean, when you think about the conversation that Ian Anderson had with Wild Runs, bringing up what's happened to him and how he's no longer going to be in the booth, that's a real interesting thing because it's a changing of the guard. Because I feel like for the last several years, we've talked about people not really particularly enjoying Ian's commentary, although there are a lot of people who really do like Ian's commentary. I don't want to discount. There are some people who really enjoy it. It's not I have my own opinions on commentary and what's necessary and understanding the big moments and when to say certain things, when to be certain ways and when not to. And I don't know that. Well, I think what Ian does has worked in disc golf for many years. I think if we're going to elevate the broadcast, some of that behavior has to change. And I just don't know that. When I look across the list of all the people in the booth, I would say that he has, more work to do than others to get to that level. So it is what it is, but it is a complete changing of the guard to have him no longer in the booth. My experience learning about professional disc golf by listening to Ian's voice as he guided me through the first starter pack challenge over on Central Coast Disc Golf. I mean, goodness gracious. So yeah. And the whole thing with Terry Miller, I kind of have more context, my getting to spend some time with Yuli and the Tour Life guys. It sounds like that's a bit more of just a communication issue, and that Terry, we will see him more than he originally was told. So we'll find out as the season goes what that is. But I'm glad that, they're carving out time for Terry. And we might get some comments on it because I know in this upcoming week on Tour Life, Jeff Spring has requested to come on. So maybe he'll shed some light on that. Maybe he'll shed some light on the other major thing that Ian dropped in that Wild Runs video, which was that there is a large outside of disc golf sponsor coming in. Now, I'll be honest with you. Be straight up. I'm pretty sure who the sponsor is. In some conversations, I've got a source or two here. Unfortunately for all of you, I am not even remotely allowed to say anything about it. But what I can tell you is this. There are some people who have been thinking things like, oh, they say big sponsor, but it's going to be another eyewear company, or it's just going to be Vessi coming in to do this, or it's someone that we already know and it's really not as big as they think it is. Or it's just going to be a big name that's not even going to be involved with anything. I can tell you right now, this is a big deal. If what I've been told is true, this is a big deal. And maybe Jeff will be announcing it on Tuesday, so you really don't want to miss out on Tour Life on Tuesday. But the moment it becomes public knowledge, I'll be sharing all the juicy details here. But I can tell you, we're talking big company and possible big involvement with disc golf. Moving over to, I think, the biggest topic, we've got the contract stuff. So to kind of walk through a couple of the major things that have happened. We've had a lot of players re-upping. Innova came out with their team and they seem kind of locked in. There's a lot of conversation about whether or not Innova and Aaron Gossage have anything going on. I know Hunter kind of dropped the information over on Grip Locked this past week that they had some kind of source that suggested that Goose was going to be maybe going to Innova. I do know that Goose's opinions on USDGC definitely did not sit well with some people at Innova, so I would find it a little odd for them to just get over it suddenly. But I don't know. I've also heard some inklings that that MVP might be a play. People have been talking about open bag. I think where Goose goes is going to be, very interesting. My money is still probably on MVP, but also at the same time, they invest in certain types of personalities, and we'll get to that here in a little bit. I don't know that he matches up with MVP as well as people think he does. So we'll see. I know, once again, this isn't a big promo for Tour Life, but we're going to be having Goose and Ezra Aderhold on to talk about what's going on with them, because Ezra technically hasn't even announced yet where he's going to be. In fact, we don't have an official Team Discraft announcement yet, as other teams have kind of come out and announced, like Innova did and stuff like that. Some interesting things, Corey Ellis getting let go from Discraft. That's kind of a bigger deal. Calvin Longquist being let go from Innova. And I promise it's not because he picked up Calvin Heimberg's disc that one time at D-Glow. You have some young gun players getting sponsored, which is great. One of the bigger announcements definitely was today with DGA announcing their tour team and showcasing that they're retaining Cole Redolin, Sullivan Tipton, and Andrew Marweed. There was a big sentiment, I think, from a lot of people that Cole or Sully was going to be going to Discraft to fill the open, elite team spot that Goose is leaving. And those rumors are pretty much dead now because they already made the announcement for DGA. And honestly, DGA doing a solid job retaining their players and picking up Jaden Rye, who is, I think, a young guy with a lot of potential. So it's a big pickup for DGA in that regard. But there are a lot of contracts. I mean, I'm just looking at the list here. There's a lot of contracts that we don't have any movement on. They're all free agents. I'm looking at, you've got Goose, you got Kevin Jones leaving Innova. Where's he going to go? Holland Hanley. You have all the Discraft people, right? Holland Hanley, Paige Pierce, Adam Hammis, all of them who have not resigned yet. I mean, I would really be surprised if some of them are leaving Discraft, but you never know. We get surprises all the time. I never would have pegged Big Germ to leave Innova, and there he did. So that's how it goes. But yeah, so I think we have a lot more under the belt to find out when it comes to contracts. No, not a lot of super big name players. I think Goose floating around might be the only big one, and then whoever's going to fill maybe his spot on the elite team. I think those are the two biggest questions that we have right now in the contract scene. But a lot of that remains to be seen. There is also the big rumor that that Gannon Burr is going to go to Discraft just because Matt Schlabach went to Discraft, and I don't think that's the case. Now, if we're being frank here, Gannon Burr's contract is good through next year. Do I think Gannon's going to be shopping around in 2027? 100% I do. Because the contracts that these companies are able to offer anymore just aren't, I think, up to snuff for the kind of players that they have become. Gannon has, in that 3-year contract, he's gone on to win a world championship, other majors. The 2024 season, one of the most dominant seasons we've ever seen from a player. And now his bargaining value, especially if he comes out in 2026 and takes down another major and gets another 4 or 5 Elite Series wins, I don't know if Discmania can afford him. So 2027, Gannon going somewhere else? Yeah, I believe that 100%. But do I think he's just abandoning ship? Do I think that there was a buyout of that contract? I don't. Now, do I believe everything that happens? There was an interview over on the All Birdies, No Bogeys podcast where, one of the House of Disc members, the guy who kind of is in charge of a lot of their sponsorship and contracts, he made it very clear they're extremely happy with both Gannon and Niklas right now. I don't think, unless that was a big ruse or he was just trying to save face, it doesn't sound like either of those contracts have been captured by anybody yet. So, yeah, I don't foresee. I mean, Niklas's contract is good through 2027, so he's locked up for 2 more years. So I don't think Gannon's going over there. I think Matt Schlabach being an acquisition is just his time was up. Discraft saw an opportunity to bring in somebody who is, potentially an asset for Gannon. maybe they get Schlebach over there, they treat him really well for a year, and then Gannon, it makes it easier transition to Discraft in 2027. But you got to remember, Schlebach is a pretty solid player, plays a lot on the Masters scene, and he's the owner of Titan Disc Golf, so they're linking up with a pretty sizable disc golf retailer. That alone makes sense for Matt to go over to Discraft. So I don't know. I think I'm going to reach out to Matt Schlebach and see if I can get him on the show. I'd love to know more about him and what's going on in his story of how he got connected to Gannon and the move to Discraft and all that. I'm going to see if I can do that. I've got some interviews lining up here that I'm going to be releasing soon that I'm super excited about. But a lot of cool stuff on the horizon for Understable Discourse. That's kind of our contract talk. Coming up this upcoming weekend, starting tomorrow, I'm really excited. The Go Throw Tour has their first event under the Tour Down Under series, and I'll be honest, a lot of people sleep on this series. When you go back the last couple of years, it has gotten better every single year. The field gets stronger, more and more. Top level MPO and FPO players from the United States are going over to play. And the courses are just gorgeous. 2 years ago, they played on a course that was used in the filming of The Lord of the Rings. Mind-blowing. It just was so much fun to watch them play that. And when you think about it, these events matter. And I'll prove it to you why they matter. Last year, Ezra Robinson gets a brand new deal, goes to Discraft and Foundation, but Discraft mainly. He's got to break in his disc, get familiar with everything. He goes over to the Tour Down Under, and he's super competitive. He almost wins one because he goes up against Germ in the playoff. Germ wins on one of the most amazing playoff throws I think I've ever seen. And, Ezra kind of cuts his teeth on the Discraft bag over there, determines some things he likes, doesn't like, and then goes on to win the first event of the year in the Supreme Flight Open, his first ever Elite Series victory. So you have to imagine, take away those moments where he's going up against, legitimate players in Robert Burridge and Jeremy Colling and Luke Humphreys. I know they're not top level guys over on, in the United States. He's not competing against Gannon and Calvin and all that. But there's something to be said about going up against these top 20, top 30 level players. It kind of gets you ready for the season more than a lot of other events can do. So, and gets you on coverage. It builds up that pressure again. So these events matter. And honestly, there's some players here that you should be looking out for. Levi Stout, the last several years was like that guy. I was like, 1,000 rated kid, whatever. He's 1020 rated, and he's over there dominating. He's the best player. I think Levi is still the top rated player in New Zealand. One of the best players internationally that we don't see play really much. And I think I heard from somewhere that he is going to be actually coming over and playing some United States events this year, which is just awesome. Levi is an incredibly talented young player and is worth watching this just to see him play. But it all is going to start out here at the Taranaki Disc Golf event, which goes down on a course that sits like at the base of Mountain Taranaki, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful course. That hole one tee shot with the mountain in the background is, oh my word, it's chef's kiss. It's gorgeous. But that starts tomorrow. I would definitely watch it. The Go Throw guys, they put out some of the best post-produced coverage in terms of like their graphics package, quality, all that. It's great. You may have to wait a couple hours because they do their members only thing for a little bit, but you got to watch it. It's great disc golf, and you better believe we're going to be reporting on it because of the reasons that I just mentioned about why it's important. So you go check that out. Over on the MPO field, you got Corey Ellis, Bradley Williams, Aiden Scott, Levi Stout. You've got Luke Humphreys. Nate Perkins is going to be playing. And then down on the FPO side, really, you get some bangers there. Kat Murch, Sophia Donica, Sarah Hokum, Taylor Chosick, Jennifer Smiley, really solid. And the more the Tour Down Under plays, I think the more people are going to be going over there. I think like Paige said she's going over for an event. Big Germ, I think, is going over for an event. So there's more and more players going for the later events. This is the first one. Go check it out. You really won't regret it. So the last thing I want to go over, and I'm sorry if the episode's a little brief, and it's a little under-edited today. With everything that happened, I don't really have as much time as I want because one of the things I do on Thursday nights is I do a big stream for disc golf cards. I'm streaming Titanium tonight, which is the newest set from Brixton. It's like the Elite Series set. It's unbelievable, and it's going to take a lot of work to get these nights set up, and with pushing everything back because of the plumbing stuff and the video is a little under-edited. I'm very sorry about that, and you're going to get better quality stuff going forward. So I'm sorry there aren't a bunch of cuts to this or cuts to that or whatever, and you're just staring at my face this whole time. That stuff will be fixed. You're going to get to see a lot more going forward. It's just this episode this week did not go as planned, and we're going to be limiting that this year. So if you're still listening to this, I appreciate you. If you're still here, go ahead and put Taranaki in the comments. So the last thing I want to go over is the fandom survey. They released their last one, which was the what drives people to be fans of certain players. And while I've been pretty frank about this, I don't think a ton of things in these surveys really give us all that much to really determine. But there are some things that kind of stand out as interesting that can kind of point towards why certain I would say certain trends go certain ways. And for this one, obviously when they asked what's the main reason that you selected a player as your favorite player, the top reason like usual is you like their personality. In fact, I'm pretty sure that was number one across the board this year and last year. Then you have things like you're in awe of what they're capable of doing, you enjoy their play style, and then from there it kind of drops off pretty quickly where you've got, they're a winner being very important on the FPO side. You enjoy their social media being very important on the MPO side. One of the biggest, just absolute differences is that you like their looks or personal style. Really important for FPO, not important for MPO. I think we all know why it's important for FPO. There's a lot of male viewers, and I will leave it at that. So when you dive into this, there's some very interesting things to consider. They have a little thing here where you can go on. You should go over to discgolf.ultiworld.com and look at these articles. They give you these ability to go in and check players and look at things. So I pulled up here the average MPO player versus Gannon Burr. So the average MPO player, you're in awe of what they're capable of doing, was the reason that the average MPO player was chosen 21.5% of the time. Gannon Burr, 38% of the time. The people are in awe of what he's doing. And they care a lot less about certain other things. They don't care so much about his personality. 9% for Gannon compared to 26.5% for the average MPO player. They don't care about Gannon's style. 9% up against 17.6%. But they care Gannon being a winner, 10% compared to 3% for this average MPO player. So you get kind of this real weird distribution compared to other things. First, let's look at Simon Lizotte. Simon's another kind of crazy guy where Simon, that personality thing, 26.5% for the average MPO player. For Simon, it's 43.8%. People love his personality. Social media content, 5% for the average MPO player, but 13.8% for Simon. So you can see different players have different things that matter in terms of the way they trend. Another big one, with how much people have liked her this year, let's look at Silva Saarinen, and let's put her up against the average FPO field. So for Silva, here's one. The average FPO, they enjoy their play style 17.9%, but for Silva, it's 33.1%. That's almost double. People like the way Silva plays disc golf. Personality, Silva is a full almost 10 percentage points below the average. They just love the way that Silva plays. It's a very interesting breakdown. I would recommend going and checking it out. But the one thing that was on here that I have to bring up is when you look at the average fandom score for professionals featured in the 2025 fandom survey from only respondents who've been following disc golf for the past 2 years. So these are the people who are the most recent kind of additions into disc golf, who their favorite players are. When you look at this list, it is Silva Saarinen at the top at 8.4. Anthony Barella, number 2. Simon Lizotte, number 3. Jeremy Colling, number 4. Do you see who 3 of the top 4 are? Silva Saarinen, Simon Lizotte, Jeremy Colling. Now, if you're doing the math there, that's 3 of MVP's biggest players. It's and then you got Eagle is there somewhere. Where's Eagle at on this list? I don't know if they show Eagle. They don't even have Eagle on the top, like, whatever group here. So Eagle's not here. But those are 3 of MVP's absolute top stars, being in the top 4 most liked players for new people into disc golf. No surprise that MVP, I think, is the number 1 most favorite brand right now. Kind of crazy when you think about it. But let me know what you think. I mean, do you put credence into these fandom results? Do you go and look at these and go, wow, I've learned so many things? Or is it just another data dump for you? Another question, are you going to watch the Tour Down Under? If you are, who are you rooting for? Do you want to see players like local players like Levi and other New Zealanders go out there and win? Or are you rooting for Luke Humphreys to go take one down? What's the dealio? But that's it for me for the day. I've had to get really loud because my voice is going away, and the sad part is I have to stream on Whatnot for 3 hours tonight. My voice is going to be so gone tomorrow. But thank you so much for being here. 2026 is going to be a big year for us. We got big things on the horizon. And these like random episodes where things didn't work out well, hopefully they're done after this one. So thank you for putting up with me. Appreciate each and every one of you listening out there. And, if you like what you heard, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It's the best way you can help grow this channel. And I will see you next week as we go back to our regular 2 episodes a week program of the Chain Reaction on Monday, where we're going to react to what's going on, and the regular episode on Wednesday, where we look ahead to the 2026 season, because things are starting to fall into place. We're almost there, folks. I'll catch you later.